she's been married for just 2 years. And today, in front of the judge, she's about to reveal a secret that could destroy her husband's life forever. But it's not just about betrayal, it's about a demand that left the entire courtroom stunned. In a quiet courtroom, a young mother steps forward, her voice trembling with the weight of what she's about to say. Mrs. Harper has been married for only 2 years. Yet she is already asking the court to dissolve her marriage. The reason, she explains, is heartbreakingly simple. She believes her husband has been unfaithful. Her 2 children, just 6 months and 2 years old, are at the center of the turmoil. The family's life, once filled with the hope of new beginnings, now feels like it's crumbling far sooner than she ever imagined. The seeds of suspicion were planted in her own home, woven into the very work that supported their family. Her husband runs a pool service business, a profession that, on the surface, seemed ordinary enough. But according to Mrs. Harper, certain patterns began to gnaw at her. She noticed his after-hours visits to female clients, long after their pools had been completed. Many of these women, she says, would be lounging in bikinis by the water when he arrived. To Mrs. Harper, these visits didn't make sense. Why did he need to be there? She recalls wondering. When he explained that he was simply servicing the pool, the words rang hollow. Her suspicion sharpened into something heavier: distrust. The turning point came on an ordinary day, when she had reason to check his phone. As the secretary for the business, she occasionally handled messages and schedules. But that day, curiosity and doubt got the better of her. She scrolled further than she normally would. What she discovered made her stomach sink. According to Mrs. Harper, the messages from certain customers were far from professional. They weren't inquiries about chlorine levels or maintenance dates. Instead, they were personal, suggestive, and sent well after business hours. Some came from women whose pools had been finished weeks before, yet the communication continued. Standing before the judge, Mrs. Harper doesn't reveal every word she reads. Some, she says, are too inappropriate to repeat. But her meaning is clear. That moment with the phone confirmed what her instincts had been telling her all along. Now, she says, she can't raise her children in an environment built on betrayal. The marriage, brief as it was, is over in her heart. All that remains is for the court to make it official. Mrs. Harper explains that her involvement in the family business is what first drew her attention to her husband's activities. As the company's secretary, she says she had a legitimate reason to check his phone. But what she found went far beyond routine work matters. Her husband runs a pool service company, and she claims his after-hours visits to female clients often involved more than maintenance women in bikinis, reclining by the water, long after their pools had been completed. According to her, the messages on his phone from these customers were so inappropriate, she cannot bring herself to repeat them in court. Many of these women, Mrs. Harper adds, were still contacting him well after the work was finished. The discovery confirmed her worst fears. Now, with 2 young children, she insists she cannot raise them in this environment. She intends to leave, take the children with her, and notes that her husband earns a significant income, something that may intensify the legal battle ahead. Mrs. Harper says she's ready to walk away from her marriage, but not from the life her children have always known. Her goal, she explains, is to preserve their current lifestyle: private school, a full-time nanny, and a home valued at $500,000. Any drastic change, she believes, would be unfair to the man. She insists her soon-to-be ex should cover the cost. Pressed for details, she admits the tuition alone for their private school is steep, about $1,800 a month. The judge can hardly hide the surprise. What kind of private school charges that much for a toddler? Are they teaching him to drive? The courtroom chuckles, but Mrs. Harper remains firm. She explains that the children will grow with the school, starting from the early years and continuing through higher grades. The tuition, she assures, will remain at $1,800 and won't increase as they advance. Whether her husband will be ordered to keep paying for it, along with the rest of the family's expenses, remains to be seen. Mrs. Harper confirms that the private school tuition will stay fixed at $1,800 a month once the children are accepted. The judge nods, then shifts the focus to other expenses. What about the nanny? How much does she cost each month? Mrs. Harper hesitates. I think he pays most of the bills, so he could probably answer that better. The questioning turns to her living situation. Has she started looking for a new place? She admits she hasn't, not just anywhere. She's been scouting homes within the same upscale neighborhood, believing that moving nearby would be the least disruptive for her children. but she's not interested in renting. "I'd like to buy one," she says plainly, explaining that homeownership is part of maintaining the life they're used to. When asked about the cost, she estimates a $3,000 monthly mortgage, most of which she expects her husband should cover. The courtroom is silent except for the shaky voice of Mrs. Harper, a young mother who has been married for just 2 years. She stands before the judge, explaining why she is ending her marriage so soon. Her reason, she says, is deeply personal. Believes her husband has been unfaithful. They have 2 children, barely toddlers, ages 2 years and 6 months. The weight of raising them in what she calls a toxic situation is written all over her face. She claims the trouble began with her husband's work. He runs a pool service business, and although that might sound harmless, she believes his after-hours visits to female clients tell a different story. According to Mrs. Harper, many of these women would be lounging by their pools in bikinis long after the installations were complete. She questions why he would need to be there at such times. "He says he's servicing the pool after hours," she says bitterly, "but I don't know what he's servicing." As the company's secretary, Mrs. Harper sometimes needed to access his phone for business reasons. One day, curiosity and suspicion pushed her to look more closely. What she found made her stomach turn. Text messages from female clients that she describes as so inappropriate. She can't even repeat them in court. These weren't quick thank you notes or scheduling reminders. They were personal, flirtatious, and sent long after the pools had been finished. That, she says, was the breaking point. She could no longer imagine raising her children in an environment where trust had been shattered. Her decision to leave was firm, but leaving would not come without conditions. Mrs. Harper makes it clear that her children's lifestyle should remain exactly as it is. The family lives in a $500,000 home, the children attend private school, and they have a full-time nanny. Disrupting any of that, she argues, would be unfair to them. "Our business makes a lot of money," she tells the court. "When I leave, I'm not going to have that, so I need to keep the lifestyle my children and I have had." The judge asks about the school costs. Mrs. Harper explains that tuition is $1,800 a month. Even for her 2-year-old, the judge raises an eyebrow. What kind of private school charges that much for a toddler? Are they teaching the baby to drive? The remark gets a ripple of laughter, but Mrs. Harper stays composed. She insists the tuition is worth it because her children will grow with the school over the years. The fee, she says, will stay at $1,800 as they advance. The conversation shifts to her housing plans. She admits she's already been looking at other homes, but only within her current upscale neighborhood. To her, that would be the least disruptive move for the children. Renting is not an option in her mind, she wants to buy. When pressed about cost, she estimates a $3,000 monthly mortgage, and while she stops short of calling it a demand, she's clear about her expectation. Her husband should pay most, if not all, of it. The judge cuts to the point. "So, you want him to buy you and the children a home?" Mrs. Harper replies, "I would call it spousal support," but her version of spousal support doesn't end with housing. She lists more. Her husband, she says, should keep paying for the nanny and the private school tuition. She currently works part-time but has no plans to continue in the family business. Many of his customers, she claims, are still around, and she wants no part in dealing with them. Finding new employment could take time, so until she secures another part-time job, she believes he should cover all her expenses by the end of her testimony. The picture is clear. Mrs. Harper wants to leave her husband, take the children, and maintain the life they have now: private education, full-time childcare, a house in the same neighborhood, and financial coverage for every bill until she is settled in a new job. To her, this is not luxury, it is stability for the children during a major life change. But as she finishes speaking, one can't help but wonder whether the judge will view it the same way, or see it as a case where heartbreak has blended with financial retribution.